Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Parkhill. I'm the director here at Brand Storytelling. And today I am joined by my friend Scott Iason. Scott is our most recent addition to the Brand Storytelling Advisory Board. Thank you very much, Scott, for
Pleasure.
all of your input and guidance and participation. You and I have been friends for several years. You've been to a lot of the events. I'm stoked to have you on the advisory board now officially.
Appreciate
But
it.
love to introduce you to folks and those who don't know you. Love to hear a little bit about your background, your career path that brought you to CAA and this media and entertainment partnerships team that's been built.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on the board. I've been a huge fan of brand storytelling, been coming there for quite some time. I love what everyone's trying to do as a kind of community in and around content and brands, and it's just getting better and better, both the event itself and the organization, but just the industry. So couldn't be more excited. Um, I had a very interesting route to CAA, I would say. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and really started my career in media buying at Omnicom and places like WPP, and love negotiating, love numbers, love the kind of interaction with big deals and working with brands. But I really figured out that I wanted to be on the client side, helping make those decisions, helping form the strategy, helping figure out how it fits in the broader marketing mix of both entertainment and marketing communications. So from New York and media agencies, I spent about 10 plus years at the Clorox company, and it was one of the best educations I could have ever asked for in my life. You know, from 1 minute of working on Kingsford charcoal to the next minute working on Clorox bleach to the next minute working on Pine Sol, you just got such an array of information and education and different consumers, different ways to engage, and it was just fantastic. While there is when TiVos started to roll out. I know I'm dating myself by that, but like TiVos were starting to roll out, and companies like Clorox and where I was sitting didn't know what to do about it because they were worried that people would start skipping commercials, and all of that kind of fear came into play. So I was put on part of a task force to figure out what do we do about this. And one of the slivers of the suggestion was, let's be a part of entertainment. Let's not always interrupt entertainment.
There's an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, out of this, out of the box idea at the time. And this is early days. And Clorox owns Brita, Clorox owns Glad, Clorox owns a lot of products that have real organic ways to be part of content. So we ended up partnering with productions, we ended up partnering with networks, we ended up partnering with talent to really be a part of entertainment and a part of culture. Again, very different back in the day for a company like a CPG like that, and it was really successful and ended up being a snowball effect of more brands wanted to do it within the portfolio. Over and over again, we had to staff up within our group at Clorox, and it was fantastic, and I learned a ton. So long story short, I took a couple other CPG jobs after that, and CAA after some time came to me and say, hey, would you want to do what you're kind of doing on the brand side, but here within the walls of CAA, bringing brands into content? And how do we do that and all of that? So I moved my family from San Francisco down to Los Angeles, and 10 years later, I'm still here. It's been fantastic. Quite frankly, the first 7 years were great in terms of figuring out how to do this, what it means, but not a lot of our clients were ready for it. Not a lot of the producers, not a lot of the talent, not a lot of the brands, not a lot of the networks. And so it was really hard. But I would say over the last 3 years, it's just been unbelievable growth in terms of openness to brands wanting to do it, openness to our clients wanting to do this, openness to networks wanting to do it, and hence launching our new team, Media Entertainment Partnerships.
Yeah, interesting, Scott. So let's talk about that new team. I know a few members on the team, right?
Yes,
Um,
they're all better than me.
oh, come on. You've got a well-rounded team there for sure. Margot Plotkin, Alana Strauss, Libby Bush. Tell us
Yeah,
tell
they're
us
all
how
fantastic.
this group came together and I mean there's new branding around it, media and entertainment partnerships within CAA.
Correct. Yeah. And so think of us as the matchmakers of content and brands. And so we work across all mediums, from big traditional films to series to short form to digital and social first content. So we're not stuck in any one medium by any stretch of the imagination, but we are very early on connecting and matchmaking brands and content. And not from a branded entertainment perspective, but really brands being part of what is being developed, what is part of being produced, and what's part of being in the real world. So we sit at the center of the agency, and our kind of unique capability unlocks all types of opportunities for new and existing clients across the board and across each department of. So we work with our sports team, we work with our TV team, we work with our um, digital team. So it works across every client of the agency, while at the same time, we represent and work very, very closely with some of the biggest platforms in the world. So think about Apple TV Plus. They've been a long time client of ours in terms of helping them represent their IP and how brands can be part of their series, their films, their ecosystem. And so we work on behalf of Apple to bring a lot of brands into that. So it kind of works both ways, for the big platforms and bringing brands into that, to then bringing brands into our clients' projects. Those clients' projects could be set up at a distributor, could be almost set up at a distributor, could start at the development stage. So again, it's us at the core, at the middle of the agency, because we have to know what our clients want to do. Then we have to distill that to figure out, what do brands want to be a part of? Is there room for them? Is there a role for the brand? Is there a meaningful additive role that we see that our clients therefore will see, and therefore make the project so much better and viable for everybody? Because the projects that we work on, which we can talk about later, are really win-win-win situations. Win for for the creators, win for the brands, and win for, and most of the times, the biggest platforms in the world.
You use the word ecosystem for referring to Apple, but the ecosystem within CAA is what you get to tinker with, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
brand, you've got talent, you've got production companies. They're all within your
Yeah,
own
I think
ecosystem.
some of our, to be frank, I tell this to a lot of our, and a lot of the pitches that we're on and conversations and meetings that we have. It's a blessing and a curse in the sense that, like, we are in a candy store of
Yeah.
unbelievable options. And what it comes down to is, like, what kind of candy do you want, right? Do you want this kind? Do you want that kind? Because sometimes it can feel overwhelming for partners and brands. This whole process of how do brands be part of this world can very much feel overwhelming to them. So really understanding what they want to do, understanding what our clients want to do, and be very strategic about which projects and initiatives we take out, which ones we that come from brands, and who we pair them with, because we desperately need everybody's experience, from the producers to brands, the talent, and ultimately the viewers, to be very successful. We don't, if this, we're too infantile still in the industry to have brands be upset about how something happened, talent be upset about something happens. This really has to work for everybody so we can exponentially grow the opportunities, because it takes one bad actor for it to fall apart.
Yeah. So give us some specifics and talk to us about, what are some of the clients that you've worked with recently? What programs are out there?
Yeah, I'm proud of a lot of the work the team does. And just to be clear, I'm going to give you some examples that are not accredited to just me or me at all, but to the broader team, like you
Sure.
described. Um, so it's interesting that we're having our conversation today, because yesterday we launched a really unbelievably impactful and big partnership with Ariana Grande and Swarovski, which started out with Ariana wanting to do some short form content in and around her past albums. And she had a passion for doing it in this specific way, wanting that content to be distributed to the masses, and wanting to work with a brand to be a partner um, in that endeavor. So there's a lot of brands that probably want to work with Ariana, and there's few that really can understand what that really means in terms of the production quality, the type of content, the type of attention that it needs. And we found a great partner in Swarovski, and we just launched their holiday campaign via a video yesterday, and with a lot more coming out, both in short form, both in store, true 360 marketing. That's really started though with where we start with this group, with what a talent wants, and does that talent, can we find a brand that can match that need? And we were very lucky to find Swarovski, and we're just so excited about that partnership.
Sweet. So it launched yesterday. How did it launch? Where's it at?
It launched digitally yesterday, socially and
Okay.
digitally yesterday. And there's going to be elements that are social. There's going to be elements that are in retail. There's going to be elements that are like YouTube kind of longer form only. There may be elements that end up on more traditional distribution. We're trying to kind of figure out where some of the longer form content may live, but that is kind of really, really exciting to work with a talent like Ariana and a brand like Swarovski to kind of navigate these roads with them.
So tell me what's the temperature of talent these days? Like Ariana Grande is like how receptive and eager are they to do deals like this with brands now? You seeing an appetite?
I would say more and more are very receptive. Like that's why this team has formed, is because the incoming from our internal agents are Ariana wants to do this, Shonda Rhimes wants to do that, Reese and Hello Sunshine want to do this, right? How do we how can we help them make that come true with brands as partners? So we always start that way because we need to know that our talent, our producers, our clients truly want to partner and know what that means to partner with a brand. There's a lot of times where folks come to us and say, we have this project, we want to partner with a brand. And then we say, here's what that means, guys, just so you're managing expectations. And all of a sudden they back off. And that's okay because they're not going to be the right partner.
Yeah,
But
right.
but there are more and more that are like, hear what a brand needs, how a brand can surround it, be a part of it, that are excited about it, really, really excited about it. The marketing they can bring, the production help they can bring, the awareness they can bring, the resources in some cases they can bring. So it's been much more receptive. I think I was telling you about we have our client Kerry Washington. She has a
Yeah.
series on YouTube called Street You Grew Up On. It's a wonderful series where she interviews her friends that happen to be big celebrities are in and around where they grew up, what it meant to them. It's all about authenticity. It's all about connectivity. And over the last 3 seasons of that show, again, it's digital native IP, but from a massive talent like Carrie, that we were able to bring in different brands for each season. So this season, that's I believe is still airing right now, is we partnered with Intuit. And Kerry's business is a small business. Intuit helps a lot of small size to mid-sized businesses. And
Nice
so
fit.
we worked with Kerry and Intuit to figure out how do we interview these folks with looking at the art of the possible. And so Intuit came in and was the season partners. Other seasons had different partners that had kind of different needs, but still fit in within the DNA of Street You Grew Up On and what Kerry cares about. So that's just a good example of a digital native IP. Not everything has to be traditional distribution like TV or streaming. It can be
Right.
still very digitally and social centric, but where we are uniquely um, have a unique capability is making sure that it's authentic and making sure that the talent is big enough to warrant the engagement and the viewership.
Yeah. So Scott, this January at Sundance, we'll be celebrating our 10-year anniversary of
Oh,
brand
wow. I didn't realize
storytelling.
that.
I mean, you blink and a decade goes by, right? But I was reflecting on this about what it was like 10 years ago. Our first event, brands were mostly there looking to do the next viral video. That was the thing that's like Uncle Drew and the Jeff
Yeah,
Gordon
which is still
series,
great.
which is awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was the mindset, right? That was like, well, we can make YouTube videos and they'll go viral we get, guys like Jeff Gordon in them. Fast forward to 2024, and it doesn't escape many people that the highest grossing film was a brand film this year. It is I hear a lot of people talk about this Barbie moment within the business. What do you think about that? Is that real? Are there CMOs are like examining like, do we have IP that we could leverage? Is there a film in us? And not everybody
Yeah,
has a Barbie film, not everyone has a
exactly.
blockbuster, but
But I think that it is a moment, and I'm not trying to build into the fervor that already exists. It clearly is a moment, but your question is, and it's a totally fair and great question. It's a Barbie moment because the viewers also responded, consumers responded to it, right? Like it worked because consumers worked. I believe the second biggest grossing film that year was Super Mario Brothers.
mm.
So I believe it's the second grossing one behind Barbie. I could be wrong about that, but it's just another example of a brand, right? So it's a brand that is now in the film space and doing something huge and big that consumers, viewers are reacting to. So do I think that CMOs are paying more attention now? Absolutely. I think that they want to be more so than ever behind something that's with cultural relevance. So that's what I
Yeah,
love is that what Barbie did and continues to do. And there's been examples before Barbie that kind of paved the way. But it's the idea. I love the first question of when a CMO says, "How do we have our Barbie moment?" or "What do we do?" It gives us a chance to say, you may not have a Barbie thing in your back pocket. Not many people do, but there are other ways and other options to look at how to be part of cultural relevance through content that either can be your brand story in times or can tie tangentially to it. And so I believe that that is a moment. It has been a moment. And what I love about the moment is that consumers took notice, the industry took notice. And that is so big for us because when we can match like the industry talk to actual box office results or viewership
yeah.
or sales, that's when we kind of hit a home run and are able to create more opportunities like that.
Yeah, I tell you, we're sure feeling it here just from the amount of interest that we get with people subscribing to the newsletter and coming to the events and new people coming in that just are anxious to learn more about what's happening at this intersection of marketing and entertainment and how do I play in it.
Yeah, for sure.
So Scott, what do the next couple of years look like? I mean, get your crystal ball out a little bit. And it's like, it turns out that advertising is not working that great. Brands need
Yep.
to build their own audience. Is this
Yeah, and
this
I think
thing that's
I think
gonna
we say advertising's not working that great, and they're really talking about your traditional 30s and 15s and print. When you read that in the trades, but I think brands have come to agree with that. Now, there's a role for that still, and they all should be playing in that. However, the idea of marketing and leveraging relevance and content is on the forefront. It's not as scary as it was. It won't continue to be as scary as it. We need to all collectively figure out how to measure it. It's still just a mess in that way. And even from when brands ask us, like, how do we measure if this works? Like, I don't have that exact answer. I wish I did because then it would be a lot easier to get brands on board. But my advice in the whole for us to continue to grow this is that, and I said this before, is that whether it be media company, whether it be a talent, whether it be a brand, choosing the right partner matters so much. And so taking more time at the beginning versus rushing into anything out of fear, out of jealousy, out of trends is a huge mistake. You want to take more time in the upfront, vet your options, understand who aligns with the DNA from a talent perspective or just tonality side, understand what each other wants to get out of it so that you can ensure that that's set up from the beginning so that the result is what everybody needs at the end. So driving the strong foundation early on for a project or an initiative helps ensure that it's successful in the end, which we all collectively need to continue to do. And I'm proud to say that, we're lucky that, in this group, like I said before, we're it's like a candy store of just great opportunity. So I do feel very lucky that the ones that we can bring out and the ones that we can partner with brands are going to, we're allowed the time to make sure that we have the right partners involved. We don't have to rush anything, where I know that that's not always the case for everybody. So I do feel lucky to just be in this general industry doing what we do, but I also feel lucky to kind of work within the walls of CAA, given the opportunities and the projects and the talent that we can surround brands with.
Yeah, I think look, I think the next couple of years look pretty exciting from my perspective, and I'm
It's
sure.
totally exciting. And I think that one of the things that we don't talk about potentially as much is I want to give a lot of credit to the platforms and the networks for starting to really come along the ways with us, to understand that brands can play differently than simply on the AVOD side.
Yeah,
We always like to include and be respectful of all of that. But from a content and programming standpoint, the heads of programming really do understand how brands can be additive to the creative, additive to the financing of projects, and creators really understand how brands can be additive to the leverage and the rights that they can maintain. So it really has become just more open and accepting, and interesting deal makings been able to happen. Everything's hard, everything's difficult, but it's never been a better time for us collectively to be doing this. And going back to your original thing about brand storytelling being 10 years old, my God, I mean, 10 years from now, I think this
yeah.
could be the way business works, as far as programming and advertising and content creation all come to fruition via these models.
Evolution takes time,
Yeah.
and sometimes it goes in fits and starts, right? I mean, it's something you'll have a peak and you'll have a flattening out and another peak, and so it's not a straight line.
Yeah.
Um, we've all seen that interest this year in a big spike, and if it turns into work and investment, and you know I think that's what we'll see over the next 24 months is
And Rick,
what.
you guys have been leaders in this in terms of 10 years ago. This is what, you guys were trying to talk about and be, and beyond, the brand storytelling events, when you're at Cannes, when you're out South by, when you're at Brand Week, these are more of the discussions than ever before.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that everybody's talking about it in the right ways. Clearly, you guys are talking about it the best way and original, but I just like to see it permeate the rest of the industry too. Of
Well, Scott, great conversation. Appreciate you taking the time,
course,
and
thank you.
so appreciate you being on our advisory and helping us plan for the future here too.
Can't
So
wait.
look
Thank you,
forward
Rick.
to seeing you in January, my friend.
I'll be there. Have a good one.
Thanks so much.
Bye.